If you're building a remote learning program or any learning program, you've probably encountered a wide variety of available approaches, and you may not know which ones to choose. We're here to help you sort through the options using a simple framework. Just like most business problems, this really comes down to putting your resources to where they're going to do the most good. And that all comes down to scale, or the number of learners that one individual can reach with a certain type of teaching approach. Scale generally runs from one-to-one coaching and mentoring all the way up to asynchronous self-guided courses where almost an infinite number of learners can participate. Though it varies a little bit, you can generally bet that the cost of development is going to increase as we move from the left to the right on this spectrum. In other words, it takes a lot more upstart resources to get an asynchronous course going than it does just to schedule a coaching session with someone. Different types of skills also lend themselves to different modes. While there's no hard and fast rule, it's often the case that skills that require more social interaction belong further toward the left side of this spectrum, and skills that require more technical ability belong more towards the right side of this spectrum. General complexity of the skill also has an impact. More complex skills are easier to set up on the left side of the spectrum, where there's less startup work in general, whereas simpler skills are easier to set up on the right side of the spectrum, where an effective asynchronous experience is easier to create. A mix of different modes is almost always the right answer for every organization. Take stock of what skills your people really need to develop, and then match those skills to the modes that will be best for delivering them. Also think about the size of your organization. Will you see the payoff for increased scale despite the increased setup costs for things like asynchronous courses? Or should you stick closer to the left side of the spectrum where setup costs are low? Finally, I want to say a word about the one thing that dwarfs all of these approaches to learning, and that is learning culture, which starts at the top of your organization. Before you spend $1 on any of these modes of learning, start celebrating risk-taking and creating space for your people to share what they've learned from the risks that they've taken, and yes, the failures that they've encountered every day at work. We'll dive more into creating a learning culture in our next video.